Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a project for you today. I am going to be creating a little journal for my word of the year. This year I actually have two words, but I want to create a little journal so that I can do some art journaling and some reflections. And as I'm coming across scriptures or quotes or things that just feel appropriate for my words, I want to have them in this little journal. So I want also to use up some of the things that have been in my stash forever. This paper pad happens to be one of them. So I am going to use it. I can't even tell you how long ago I got this. It was a Michaels paper pad. I've had it forever, but I just was really drawn to the colors and the style of it, the little kind of like just artsy, whimsical kind of style. I know that that's not for everybody, and but I do really love like these the drawings and the all of these kinds of things. I really love this paper pad. I've had it forever, and I just have never used it, and so I thought I would pull it out now. And this one actually has some vellum pages in it, as well as some stickers and some tags that are already cut, like punched out. So it kind of gives you a head start on this aspect of it. I've had this in my stash. I don't do a lot of traditional scrapbooking anymore, even though that's how I kind of started with paper crafting years and years ago. But I don't do a lot of traditional scrapbooking anymore. And so this has just been sitting in my stash, and I thought this would be a good way to kind of do it. I am going to be using this envelope. I'm going to cut this down just a little bit, but this is going to be what I attach my fabric to. And this fabric is actually the most recent kit from A House of Books actually came inside this fabric, and I think that they just go really well together. So I'm going to be using that to cover this and create a little soft cover journal. It's just going to be one signature, really simple. But I thought I would share that. I know this is maybe not a traditional like junk journal in the sense that it's not really super vintage, but it's kind of bridging that gap for me between art journal and junk journal. And I sometimes have a hard time kind of defining my own personal style because I'm just interested in kind of so many different things. So sometimes I create vintage looking junk journals with vintage papers and that kind of stuff, and other times I want to do something that's bright and whimsical. So for whatever, if maybe you're not one of those journalers who is really interested in the vintage grunge kind of way, and maybe just want to see something else, or get some other ideas, maybe this video will be helpful to you. But I'm going to go ahead and put you on fast forward and just make this. It's going to be a real simple journal. You've seen me do all of these processes multiple times, but I just thought I would share this one because it's a little bit different than I think maybe I've shared in a while with all of the bright colors and using the scrapbooking paper. But also let me know if you would like to see some future videos as I work through this journal throughout the year, some process videos or some updates or whatever as I'm working through it. Let me know down in the comments below, and I will put you on fast forward and get started on creating this journal. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is trim down this envelope. This is just like a manila, like mailing envelope. I'm trimming down the section that has the little fastener and stuff on it. And then I am going to trim off the top as well. And then I'll just run a little bit of glue on there to keep those two sides closed. But I did not measure this to any particular size. I just cut it down to what I just felt like it would be a good size for me in terms of height. And so it ends up being, I think the finished cover ends up being roughly 5x7, a little bit shy of that, but I did not go with any specific measurements. I just went with what felt like it would be a good size, felt good in my hand and that kind of stuff. So sometimes I'll do an exact measurement, but this time I was just kind of doing it by eye. So apparently 5x7 is a good size for me. I seem to do that, or close to that anyway. So you saw me cut down this fabric. As I mentioned earlier, this is some vintage fabric that I got with my subscription kit from A House of Books. And I cut down 2 pieces that are slightly larger than this envelope. And then I will trim those down to match after I have gotten them sewn. So I'm just using a little bit of Fabri-Tac glue just to really hold these in place. And that's really just to make it easier for me while I'm sewing. As you know, I do not really know how to sew. I have just a little handheld sewing machine, and so keeping all of it together is just kind of difficult when I'm trying to sew everything. So I'm just using this Fabri-Tac on this envelope just to kind of keep it in place, not to actually hold the fabric itself, but just to kind of keep everything together to make my life just a little bit easier. So I'm just going to give that a second to dry, and then I'm kind of getting an idea for where the edge is here. And again, this is a Singer Stitch Quick machine. I got mine at Hobby Lobby. I get a lot of questions about this little machine. It's really good for little tiny projects like this. So I went around just one time, and then I'm going to go through and trim off now all of the excess fabric as close to that envelope as I possibly can. I'm just going to leave a little bit of overhang there, so you can't see the envelope that's tucked between the 2 pieces of fabric. And then I'm going to go around and stitch again. I like to have that kind of messy double stitching, or if I had a different sewing machine, I would probably do like zigzag stitches or something like that. But for now, this is the little machine that I have. So I just went around that, I think, 2 times. Sometimes I do 3, but I think I only did 2 on that one. Now I'm going to go through and pull out the paper from this paper pad that I want to use. This is a 12 by 12 paper pad. I don't remember if I said that before. So I'm cutting my pages down to roughly 9 inches wide by, I think, about 6 1/4 tall. I think that's what they ended up being. And again, I didn't really measure all that accurately, but I do have 2 pages of this particular pattern paper. This is the one that has the ledger on it, and because I just love ledger paper. And so, but that page also has like a flower down in the bottom corner, so I'm going to use 2 pages, and one will have the flower and one won't. So it'll just be a little bit different, but that way I can use more of that paper. It'll just work really well in this journal. And so I'm just going to go through here and cut down, and I'm kind of making sure, like, I wanted to make sure that this little flower was on my page. And so I'm just making sure to cut it down so that I'm getting the part that I want for each one of these pages. So like this part, I think I'm going to do the top section of this page and leave the flower off. And then like this paisley one that's coming up, I didn't want to do the paisleys that were super large because of the scale of the journal. So I wanted to do those kind of smaller ones. So I'm just making sure to trim that down accordingly. And I will say this paper is not the super thin pattern paper. It's, when you're buying pattern paper, some of it is almost like a thin copy paper kind of. This is more like a patterned cardstock. So it's a really pretty heavyweight paper. It's going to hold up to this journal. Of course, you could use the thinner paper if you want to. This is just a thicker, it's only one-sided though. So I'll have the back sides that will be white, which is going to be fine because I will go back through and decorate it. So I saved all of these little pieces to create some tags and also to create some pockets and stuff. I will probably show that in another video where I decorate the pages. I don't want this one to get too long. So I'm just going to take these pages now and use my scoreboard and score them in half. It'll just make folding them a little bit easier because, like I said, this is pretty heavyweight paper and I don't want the cardstock to crack or tear. So some of these I am folding so that the pattern is on the inside, and some of them I'm folding so that the pattern is on the outside. And I'm just going to go through here and kind of put these in a little signature here, just whatever seems interesting to me. So like this one, I had to fold differently because the flower was on there and, etc. So I just kind of got an idea for how I wanted everything, and I have tucked it into my my cover here, and I'm using these little clips. I got these at my grocery store, actually, in the little automotive area, and they work great for my bookbinding projects. So I'm just making sure that those are held down really well. And for this project, I'm actually going to use my book cradle. This is a book cradle that I got from, I think it's Crafty Cat USA on Etsy. I actually found them through Gail Augustinelli, but I have wanted a book cradle forever. And so a while back, I made the plunge and bought this, and I'm so happy I did because it makes this process so much easier. And I'm using a heavy duty awl here because I'm going through a lot of paper and some pretty thick fabric. So, and having that book cradle, it just made this process really super simple. So I made my 3 holes, and now I'm trimming my thread. I'm using some waxed linen thread with some black. And I threaded my needle, and I'm going to start on the inside and go out to the outside from the middle hole. And then I had left my awl in there just to kind of keep that place where, because it's sometimes hard to see where that hole is. I'm sorry I got off camera there. I was trying to find that hole from the outside. It's easier with paper because you can see it, where with fabric it kind of closes up and sometimes it's harder to see. So I went then up to the top stitch and then back out to the outside, and now I'm coming back. And this really isn't a tutorial. This is called a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. If you've seen my channel before, you've probably seen me do this a million times. This is my go-to stitch for creating journals. I just find that this stitch works really well for these kind of journals. It's nice and sturdy. It works well. It's easy to do. And you can do like a 5-hole if you have a bigger journal, but the 3-hole pamphlet stitch has always worked really well for me. So here I'm just making sure everything is nice and tight. I made sure that both of the tails were on either side of that long stitch running down the center, and I'm just tying a square knot here, and then I will tie a bow with these pieces. I left them kind of long on purpose because I'm not sure if I want to like have something dangling down from the bottom or not. So for now, I will just leave that with them kind of tied in there. And I'm just going to do a quick flip through. You can kind of see sometimes there's 2 white pages that are opposing. Sometimes there's 2 patterns. Sometimes it's just 1. And all that's from how that was folded when I put it together. But I will come back and decorate those pages. I'll put that in a part 2 so that you can kind of see how that came together. So if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.